to the 4,000 three-point plateau on the same night where Steve Kerr gets win number 557 and has tied the legendary Mr. Warrior Alvin Adams on the franchise all-time coaching list.
Well, the Warriors continue to roll tonight at Chase Center as they absolutely ransack Sacramento. 130-104 the final score. This is Warriors wrap-up. Evan Giddings with you live at Splash at Thrive City after, this place is jumping right now, and you can kind of understand why. Oh my gosh, they just brought me a double smash burger. I appreciate you very much. Thank you. I'm going to dig into that during the next commercial break. Oh my God. I got you. I'm right on air right now, but yes, that will be going down the hatch in a moment. Just like another 22 threes went down the hatch for the Golden State Warriors tonight. They shot 56.4% from distance, and they had 7 in double digits. The return of Jonathan Kuminga went about as seamlessly as anybody could ask for. Actually, they ended up with 8 in double digits. I forgot Geek got 10 towards the end of that game. But ultimately, a flawless victory for the Golden State Warriors. And again, Jonathan Kuminga returns. Goes about as good as you could ask for. Steph Curry eclipses the 4,000 threes mark, although there's a bit of a note on that in a moment that I want to get to that made me feel a little bit like Steph did, I think, during the middle of it, which was like, should he be excited? Should he be thanking the crowd? They had a tribute video. Andres Biedrins was in it. There was a lot going on here tonight. But the Warriors, again, pretty much just made mincemeat of Sacramento in that second half. And I think the game was once at 23 in the first half. Kings went on a 16-4 run over the final 5 minutes to cut it to a 10-point lead at the break. They got it to single digits in the third quarter. And then the Golden State Warriors just opened up a can of whoop-ass from there. And, I think this game is, look, it's important. You got to win these kinds of games. And the Warriors have demonstrated that now 15 times, essentially, or 13 of 15 times since they acquired Jimmy Butler, who does not give a flying F about any statistics. A funny part about this game. But Sacramento falls to 33-32. This is why the win in a nutshell, realistically, is important. So Golden State climbs to 10 games above 500. That's the high water mark for at any point this season, because remember they started 12-3. So they've never been 10 games above 500 this season. They have won their 11th game in a row with Jimmy Butler on the floor. They have won 13 of 15 after the deadline. And they have officially put themselves back into sole possession of 6th place, at least until the Minnesota Timberwolves play tomorrow and have a chance to tie. But the Warriors have the tiebreaker. So these are the games you got to get, especially with a tough Knicks team coming in on Saturday and a couple of tough back-to-back games with Denver and Milwaukee next Monday and Tuesday. This was the 4-game stretch that I talked about on Monday night after the Portland win that I felt like was going to really reveal whether or not we can consider the Warriors contenders. And while this game individually is not going to explain whether or not they can go beat an OKC or win against Denver or whoever you think is the best team in the West, the Warriors have now, I think with their level of play, especially again when Jimmy Butler's been on the floor, they have shown that they deserve to be in the conversation for the second best team in the Western Conference. However you slice it, I think Oklahoma City, with what they've done, their resume is kind of impenetrable at this point. They're on pace for 66, 67 wins. But the second best team in the West is up for grabs. And I know the Warriors still got to play Denver. They still got a good team in Milwaukee coming up. They'll play Denver 2 more times at home, one later on in April as well. But the Warriors are playing about as well as any team in the NBA right now. And over these last 15 games, it's been remarkable the kind of turnaround that we've seen. And it's been wins in all different manners. Like tonight, you saw, again, 8 in double digits. Leading scorer was Draymond Green. He hit that three-pointer down the stretch against the Detroit Pistons, and all of a sudden he thinks he's Quentin Post. Comes out and knocks down the first 2 threes from the identical spot in the corner. He was 8 for 14, 4 of 7 from distance, and was a plus 12 and had 23 points in this basketball game. Steph Curry only ended up with 11 because it felt like the Kings were doing everything in their power to make sure he didn't get 4,000. And he ended at 4,000 because he was 2 of 6. But that opened things up for Buddy Hield, who had 16 points in an efficient 20 minutes off the bench. It opened things for Moses Moody, who was also hyper-efficient. Only 7 shots, 6 of which from distance, went 4 of 6 from downtown, 17 points, along with 6 assists, moving the ball very well was Moses Moody. And then, of course, the guy who I think everybody was excited to see the most tonight, Jonathan Kuminga. 31-game absence, played 20 minutes tonight, didn't have a minute's restriction, and at 18 points off the bench, had 3 dunks in the fourth quarter, was playing free, was getting up and down, and kind of looked like the player, again in a smaller sample size, that we were promised right before his injury. A player that can play and attack the tin with ferocity. A player that puts pressure on the rim, especially when Sacramento had to go away from Valanciunas because he was just getting played off the floor, whether it was post, the Warriors' cuts. He just was unable to stay in this game. Once they took him out of the game, there was literally no resistance at the rim by Sacramento, and Jonathan Kuminga had his way. But to me, that's kind of where he has to be. Now, he'll eventually play more minutes, and he's going to get more burn. But Kuminga, again, that hyper-efficiency is what the Warriors are looking for from him. The thing that I was most impressed about with his game tonight is the fact that I only felt like he might have forced 2 shots. And, again, it's his first game back. I'm sure he's really excited. I'm sure he was playing with a lot of adrenaline tonight, just happy to be on the floor because he got hurt on January 4th. He's missed 2 months of basketball in the last 31 games, and the last 14 of which he's watched his team run out and win, and he just wants to be a part of it. I thought he very easily tonight could have tried to do too much. He very easily could have jacked up a bunch of threes. He very easily could have gotten too excited and turned the ball over. He did not have 1 turnover in this basketball game, and he only took 1 three-pointer. Everything he was getting was at the rim or getting in his comfortable mid-range spots. Again, Sacramento's not a great basketball team, especially without Sabonis, and after the deadline, they haven't been very good whatsoever. But I was impressed at which the restraint that Jonathan Kuminga played with tonight, and I don't think that it's a surprise that that restraint was then rewarded by the amount of opportunities that he got inside of the three-point line. And that's where he takes this Warriors offense to a different stratosphere. Earlier today on Steiny and Guru, I was talking about how if Kuminga can be what Jaden McDaniels is to Minnesota, that's what I would love to see. It wasn't a literal comp. I think they're different players. But the point is, Jaden McDaniels is the 4th, sometimes even the 5th most important player on the Timberwolves, but he can play up to being the 3rd most important player at times. Kuminga, to me, now with Butler and Curry, he can be their 3rd most impactful player, but how he fits around all of these different moving parts, to me, is going to be what dictates how good the Warriors can be. And tonight, I thought we got a great sign of that. He didn't force anything. He played, I thought, interestingly enough, not a lot with Jimmy Butler, and we'll get to that in a moment, but I thought that Kuminga didn't press in this game, and that was impressive to me considering it was his first game back. He was easing in, he didn't try to do too much, and he was rewarded with 18 points. Oh, by the way, our Fremont Bank prediction from Warriors Live, you can book that. Everyone thought that Kuminga's 11.5 points was a little bit high, the total. I felt like that was a gimme. Also because I thought that the Warriors would run away with this game. Mentioned the fact that the -7 was something that I felt really comfortable with. And it's because the Warriors are now just a better matchup against the Sacramento Kings. It's weird how one player can change that. And Kuminga also did two tonight. But the fact that the Warriors have also quietly, I don't know if they're, I don't know if their three-point shooting is for real. I mean, you're not going to shoot 55% every single game like they did tonight, and also close to what they did on Monday against Portland, but they're getting a lot more open looks. Like, teams are leaving Draymond Green wide open. Teams are leaving Gary Payton II, who went 3 of 4 again tonight from downtown, wide open for threes. If those players are knocking them down, Guy Santos had 2 for 2, was 2 of 2 from distance. If those players are knocking down shots, the Warriors are going to be virtually impossible to beat, in my opinion. Now, it's also a strategy that I could see opposing teams that are better, more talented, playoff caliber. I can see why teams would just leave Gary Payton II wide open. I can see why they'd leave Draymond Green wide open. But if those guys in particular are knocking down three-point shots, it's going to be really hard to outscore Golden State. Again, in back-to-back games now, you're seeing the amount of points that they can put up in a hurry. 130 against the Kings, 130 against the Blazers, 120 against Brooklyn, 115. They've scored 114 points now, the Warriors have, in every single game going back to when they played on the road against the Rockets. So this is a Warriors team that is averaging over 110 points per game, and it feels like their ceiling is what we've seen the last two, but the floor is somewhere around 110, 115. And that's a very dangerous team when you also combine the fact that I think they've been playing a little bit more cohesively on the defensive side. So their offense has transformed. The efficiency's been fantastic. And the fact that you can now bring Kuminga into the fold and have him add, not take away, which is what we saw tonight, him add to their offense, to me, I mean, it puts them in that conversation for the second best team in the Western Conference. They still got to prove that. I'm still not yet willing to consider them a contender, but they are putting themselves in the conversation for one of the second or third best teams in the West. And I think it's hard to refute considering they've won 11 straight with Jimmy Butler in the game. If you'd like to tell me why you think I'm crazy or why I might be onto something, 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Live here, live from Splash at Thrive City. I got a double smash burger waiting for me as soon as we hit our commercial break. Coming up in a bit, we'll also have Steve Kerr in his entirety, and I'm looking forward to that. But if you have any questions, please drop them in the YouTube chat along with Twitch, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Hit the text line. Looking forward to chatting with all of you here tonight. And, I see people coming in talking about the Sacramento Kings and how they're not that great of a basketball team. That I would absolutely agree with. The Sacramento Kings, to me, they're embodied by Zach LaVine. And without Sabonis, they're grosser than they already were. But I just can't believe, and this is also another dodged bullet by the Warriors. I think the Warriors were very much interested in Zach LaVine, and I also have heard that Steph Curry was someone who was a proponent of Zach LaVine before the deadline. It's a good thing that they did not get him. Here is Zach LaVine's level tonight, or line tonight, because I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. Zach LaVine was 5 of 6 from the floor. He was 4 of 4 from three-point range. So he did not miss, essentially, on offense tonight. He ended up with 14 points. Zach LaVine was a minus 34 in this basketball game. And while plus-minus might lie a little bit, it is hard. It is really hard for an opponent to outscore you by 34 points when you are on the floor. And I thought actually the game moved into Golden State's favor and were really where they punched their ticket home in that fourth when Doug Christie brought Zach LaVine back in the game. I mean, that's essentially when the Warriors are able to put this thing out of reach. And so, LaVine is the quintessential empty calories player to me. And, he's basically turned Sacramento and the Kings into the Sacramento Bulls. I talked about it before the game. I do not think that Zach LaVine is a winning basketball player. He's going to have some big games. His numbers are going to look good. He averages 24 a night, and it's because he'll give you 36 against San Antonio. He's going to score, 34 against Charlotte. He might have had a 40-burger against Charlotte. And then in the last two games against the Knicks and the Warriors, he had 14 and 17 and had a combined 10 turnovers in 2 games. That's the kind of player that he is. Even if he's knocking down shots, he doesn't impact other parts of the game for me enough to believe that he can help a basketball team win at a high enough level. And Sacramento married themselves to him because I think he has 2 more years left on his contract. Would he be a better player playing alongside Steph than playing alongside DeRozan and Keon Ellis? Perhaps, but I just don't see it. And I think the Kings are in trouble for quite a while. As I mentioned also before the game, and I think this is important to note, the win, yes, it clears the Warriors a half game of the Minnesota Timberwolves. But it also clears them 4.5 games of the Sacramento Kings. And some people might be wondering, well, why do you really care about that? You care about it because it's going to be really hard to make up 4.5 games in the final. Let's see, they're at 64, so you got 18 games left. 4.5 over 18 games is hard to do. So what the Warriors did by winning tonight is they essentially put their floor for playoff contention at the 8th seed. And they're 2 games up on the Clippers. They're half game up on the T-Wolves. They're in 7th and 8th, respectively. They're 3 games back now of Houston, as well as the Lakers, by the way, for the 4 seed. If you really want to look far ahead, they're 4 games back of the 2 and the 3 seed, Memphis and Denver. But you don't have to look behind you as much. And to me, it's important because the Warriors, you don't want to slip up. You want to keep winning games. They've won 6 in a row now. The T-Wolves have won 6 in a row to match them. but you also want to make sure that you get 2 cracks in the postseason at the play-in, if that's a position you're going to be in. It's not out of the realm of possibility that the Warriors, maybe they get a nagging injury here that keeps a guy out. Maybe they just lose a couple games and Minnesota keeps on winning because they have the easiest schedule in the West, right below what the Warriors have. So you want to make sure that you get 2 cracks at the play-in at bare minimum. And by beating the Kings tonight, you essentially set your floor at the 8th seed. And so this season, you will not see a single elimination game for the Warriors. That's what I believe. Or at least you're going to get 2 cracks at it. But in all probability, you also now give yourself a good shot to host that first game and get in as the 7th seed. Obviously, the goal is a 6. The goal is to potentially even move higher, in my opinion. I would love to see a first-round matchup with the Houston Rockets. But now as teams begin to fall, the Lakers have lost their 3rd in a row with LeBron being out. They're in the 4th seed. You can also think about the different matchups and who you're trying to play for. I think the Warriors did a really nice job, for example, a couple of years ago when they wouldn't tell you they did this on purpose, but I think they sort of strategized to work their way to the 6 so that they could get Sacramento in the first round because that was a favorable matchup. It was a Kings team that was really good that regular season, but was young, was a little bit better than they probably have showed, and I think since then proves that. And the Warriors took advantage of them and won a 7-game first-round series. That's where you start to look at these matchups and say, all right, who do we play better against? I think also you're looking around the league and you're seeing the games that are being played. Who stacks up with who? Where are these matchups going to be favored for different sides? For example, I think the Warriors match up well with Memphis. I'm not sure they match up well with Denver or even Los Angeles when they're at full strength. I think they match up well with Houston. I think they match up well with Minnesota behind them. If Minnesota could go and knock off the 2 seed in a first-round series, the Warriors might feel comfortable if they're able to get past their own series, playing in the second round. And when you're thinking about how the Warriors can make a run, because, again, I do think that they have a legitimate calling or a legitimate reason to believe that they might be the second best team in the Western Conference with the way that they're playing. When you're looking at that path, you're going to have to catch some breaks, and maybe it falls your way. That's how you're able to envision a potential path to a deep postseason run. And I think this team absolutely has action. I think there are 3 surefire teams in the NBA that I believe are probably championship favorites. Oklahoma City is one of them. Cleveland's one of them, and Boston is the other. And I think after that, it's a lot of teams with action. Curry told Stephen Guru, Curry's told Stephen Guru. He's told Steiny and Guru yesterday that there are probably 8 teams that think that they can win a championship. The Warriors are one of them. If I had to identify the 8, it'd probably be Cleveland, Boston, New York, OKC, Denver, Lakers, Warriors. Actually, there's probably more than 8 that think they can win a championship. But the Warriors are in the conversation of, I think, legitimate teams. The Warriors quite quietly have also been creeping up as far as their offensive efficiency during this Jimmy Butler transition. They've looked really good, and Kuminga added to that tonight, again, with 18 points in 20 minutes. So 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. I don't know. I think that looking around, there's definitely going to be no beam tonight for the Sacramento Kings. That's for sure. The beam team was staying at home. And I actually felt bad for a few of the Sacramento Kings media members because they made the trip all the way down Interstate 5 from Sacramento. They're probably in the middle of their post-game press conferences right now, which are probably not too happy in the Sac locker room. And then they got to drive all the way back, and they're going to get home at like 1 in the morning. I've done that drive a couple times, and it is not fun, especially when you watch a team get absolutely waxed by 26 points. This was a win that I felt like was very possible for the Warriors, although they did it differently than the first time that they played with Jimmy Butler when they won by 24. Tonight was, again, a strength in numbers victory. If you're telling me that Steph Curry can score, and I understand that he had bigger things on his plate, he was trying clearly really hard to get that 4,000 three-pointer off. In fact, I think that's when the Kings went when they made their run. If we're being honest, Sacramento was able to go on that run late in the second quarter and towards the end of the half. A big reason for that, I think, was Steph was pressing. The Warriors were trying to get into his hands. They were trying to break that record to get him his love, and then ended up doing it in the third quarter. But the fact that Steph had 11 points and the Warriors won by 26. It just goes to show how much confidence everyone on this team is playing with right now. And the guy who flipped the switch was Jimmy Butler. And it's just so funny how it's why you have to watch all of these games, because Jimmy Butler's stat line, for example, is not going to be something that pops out and says he dominated this game or he's the catalyst, right? He's the reason. Jimmy Butler played 28 minutes tonight. He took 5 shots. He had a game-high 7 assists, which was probably his biggest contribution, 2 turnovers, but he only had 6 points. Jimmy Butler had a Draymond Green stat line tonight, and in a way, Draymond Green probably had the Jimmy Butler stat line because he scored 23 points and then also chipped in 4 assists, 4 rebounds, a block, and a steal. Jimmy had 6, 5, and 7. I mean, and it was funny watching him play tonight, especially when, because he wasn't in a lot with Kuminga at the beginning of the game. But when Kuminga got in, and he did this twice. Like, Jimmy Butler, I think, might be the most immediately trusting teammate that I've ever seen on a Warriors roster since I started covering them. And what I mean by that is there were 2 examples, one in the first half, one in the second half, where Jimmy Butler goes around his man, has an open layup at the cup, and instead of trying to lay it in, maybe force contact and get to the free throw line, he throws it out to the corner to a wide open shooter. But of all people, it's Gary Payton II that is sitting there in the corner. I think he knocked down both of them. But it's like Butler is passing up an open 3, a high efficient shot for a corner 3 for a guy that is being left wide open for a purpose. And to his credit, Gary's knocking down those threes, or has been the last 2 games. He's been on a heater lately. But it's just so funny that, like, Jimmy, again, he makes the right play, but it doesn't matter who's in that corner. It could be Buddy Hield. It could be Gary Payton II. It could be Draymond Green. It could be Quentin Post. It could be Brandon Pajemski. But his faith that that player is going to knock down that shot because Jimmy made the right play, to me, is something that it's a refreshing way to watch the game through, the lens of that player. And it makes me feel like I'm watching a more pure brand of basketball, to be honest. And it's also refreshing, nowadays, where it's not necessarily just about the right play, but it's about how you're going to get as many shots up from 3 as possible. Like the Boston Celtics last night, I want to say took 36 3-pointers in the first half they ended up losing the game to OKC. But it's the most threes ever taken in a half. The Warriors took 39 whole threes tonight, the entire game, the whole game. And I think that most of them were good shots, were good looks, as evident by 35 assists on 45 makes. And they had a little spurt where they turned the ball over a few times. Of their 14 turnovers, I want to say 3 of them came in the final 4 minutes of the first half, and they were condensed. But the Warriors are getting great looks. They're playing with passion. They're playing with energy. And they're playing with a confidence right now that I'm not sure what's going to break it. Something that Buddy Hield brought up the other day was the fact that this team right now is basically all in. And you can just tell the kind of vibe that he is rolling with right now, and I think it's awesome. All right, let's open up the phone lines. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you live from Splash at Thrive City after the Warriors 130-104 win against the Sacramento Kings. Let's go out to Philmo Mike. Wants to get into Jonathan Kuminga. Philmo, what's up, my man? How we doing?
I'm good. I want to get into a couple of things. First of all, while you was talking, I had an epiphany. And I'm going to call back tomorrow to talk about it. Hello?
Yeah, what's up?
Can you hear me? Okay.
What up, Philmo?
You there? Talk about it.
Philmo, you're kind of dropping out, buddy. All right, please call back. Let's go to Joe in San Francisco. Joe, what's up, man?
Evan, what's going on? Hey,
feeling great.
You're extremely talented. This is some of the best Warriors analysis I've ever heard. Do you have a podcast? Are you always on post game? I mean, I'm like blown away.
Oh, thanks, Joe. I do a podcast for the Niners, but pretty much just with Signing Guru, and then I do a little play-by-play on the side.
Nice, man. Dude, I only listened for about 10 minutes pregame, but it's like you predicted everything that's going to happen. I'm totally with you about thinking about the Warriors as a top seed. And Zach LaVine, he was a guy I thought, like, he can shoot it, he can stretch the floor, he's an offensive fit. And then what you're saying is so true. It makes me think, when he was in college and he had problems at UCLA, and what do you think his career winning percentage is? I have it pulled up. And he's been in the NBA for 11 years. He's played 650 games. What do you think his career winning percentage is?
Oh boy, well he didn't get any help because he got traded to Minnesota. Or sorry, he ended up with Minnesota pretty early. My guess would be around 40%.
38%. Great guess. But, I mean, there's something to be said for that. That's 11 years of sample size, and Jimmy's just been such a great fit. The only other, comment on my side, I really think the shooting of guys like Buddy, Draymond, and Gary is going to be so crucial in how far this team goes. Just a couple of them being threats on a given night in a series, we have to have them shooting well. So I hope they can keep it up. Thank you so much, and I really enjoy listening to you.
Appreciate it, Joe. Yeah, hey, look, I also say this too, when a team is rolling, like I'm lucky enough to be able to cover this team on a day-to-day basis, and it's our job to talk about the group. But when a team is rolling, you really get a great look at just what makes them tick. And, I made a couple predictions tonight, and a few of them came true, but it's because I'm beginning, and I think a lot of fans are too. This is not about patting myself on the back. This is when you're watching the game as a fan, you're coming to understand what to expect from each individual player. Now, certain guys are going to have up nights and down nights, but overall the team, you can just tell watching this group over the last 10 games that this was going to be a matchup that was favorable for them. I didn't think on Monday a Portland team was a favorable matchup for them. They still won both games, but the way that they're doing it, it lets you know, and again, I think that's also the sign of a great, I'll say good team, a really good team, because we don't know if they're great yet, but it's a sign of a really good team when they produce again, and they're playing a style that is predictable, that you as a fan understand what's going to happen. It doesn't make you omnipotent, or it doesn't make me the greatest expert in the world. What it makes the Warriors is solid, and it makes them a team that as you're watching them and learning about them, especially now with Jimmy Butler, they have action. So I think it's as much a reflection of who this team has become as much as it is me, being able to kind of, I guess, predict what's going on and cover the team. All right, Cam, do we have Philmo Mike back on the phone? Mike, are you there?
I'm here, brother. Hey,
what's up?
I'm gonna tell you this: if they gotta mute your side while I talk. It's Found Manny, but don't trip. There you go. Anyway, though, I just had an epiphany, man, on some real talk while you were talking, and I just want people to know, basketball is basketball. And people were making a big deal of Kuminga coming back. But when you have a good player coming back, you just fit the good player in. You don't really trip on where he going to fit. Can Kuminga do what Moses Moody do, Brandon Podzinski, and hustle? Yeah, he can. That's going to make him a better player. Can he do other things that other players on the team can't do? Yes, he can. That's why he's in the NBA. Now, with that being said, I had an epiphany on how the Warriors are playing now. This is Jimmy Butler's team. I hate to say it. I'm a Warriors fan. I'm a Curry fan. But you got to look at it. Every player is starting to play like Jimmy Butler. They're being more, not as predictable. They're slowing the game down and whatnot. So with that being said, it's Steph Curry's team. He's still the guy, but it's kind of like, in a weird way, it's Jimmy Butler's team, man. The persona is Jimmy Butler. It's not Steph and Draymond. So this combination is crazy. I love to see it. It's a good look. And like I said, for all the people that was like, man, Kuminga going to do this, mess with chemistry, y'all don't know basketball. Basketball players, you just play basketball. You don't worry about how he going to fit in. He's a great basketball. It's not like he's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's not a center. Come on now. It's positionless basketball, so he could fit in easily. All he got to do is work on his hustle.
I'm with you, Philmo. I'm with you there. Yeah, I think Like, I don't know if you're still on the phone, but let me ask you, kind of what did you expect of Jonathan Kuminga tonight? Oh, he's gone. Okay, I got you. Well, 888-957-9570 is the number. What did you think of Jonathan Kuminga going into this game, and what did he show you tonight? I know it's one game. I know he played 20 minutes. I know the Warriors around him were all rolling. But I think Philmo's onto something. I don't know if I'm willing to go as far as to say it's Jimmy Butler's team, because in a way, I think that he and Curry, while their styles are complementary, Curry is a little more aggressive offensively. Jimmy Butler is more deferential. And from that standpoint, he's valuable. And everyone, you're right, Philmo, everyone has kind of taken on that Butler play style of making the right play. Maybe understanding that just because the play is for you doesn't mean you're going to get the shot. But your team is going to be successful. You're going to win possession after possession, and eventually, hopefully, the game as a result of it. But what I'll say is they both appear to be equally selfless. To me, Curry, it's more of an off-the-court thing. Like, he's someone that has always shared his locker room with no matter how big or small the ego is. Jimmy Butler on the court, to me, is a selfless player. And it's because I think he's a simple superstar. Like, tonight proves it. Again, I felt like this was going to be the case before the game, partially because I also think Jimmy knows that against a team like SAC, he can do this. Like, he doesn't need to enforce or put his fingerprints on this game because he thinks that they're good enough as a group to go out and beat SAC. But Jimmy Butler would rather get everyone else going before he himself has to turn it on. Like, that's what I saw against the Detroit Pistons, and it continues to be affirmed every time I watch him play. Whenever he's out there, starting the game, and then kind of as Curry fades out toward the tail end of the first quarter, and Butler comes back in to run the second unit, or how many players from the starting and the second unit he's on with, he always tries to get everyone else involved. He looks to get them shots. He doesn't really hunt unless he absolutely has to. If it's late in the shot clock, or maybe, say, against Detroit, where they're hacking everyone. It's a physical game. They're ruining the Warriors' motion sets and kind of off-ball action. Then he gets to go to work. But on a night like tonight against Sacramento, that's a terrible defensive team. They are basically sacrificing any sort of rim defense just to keep Steph from shooting threes. Like, there was a couple plays in the second half before Steph he knocked down the 4,003, where Keon Ellis is literally just holding him about 5 feet from the midcourt line. And the Warriors are playing 4-on-4. Like, that's space. And whether you have good shooters or not, the Warriors have enough, I think, high IQ players now, and Jimmy Butler is helping in that aspect to understand how to win a 4-on-4 possession with as much space as there is on an NBA court. And so, but Jimmy's going to try and get everyone else going before he gets his, because he's smart enough to know that he can get his at any time. I think Butler's a gifted enough scorer, though his jump shot's not there. The three-point shot's probably not going to be there for the remainder of the season, I would imagine. He still knows that he can get his pretty much at will. And he's not going to be a guy that forces a shot. Like, I think that's also one of the reasons why, if you notice when he goes to the rack, if he doesn't feel like he's going to get fouled or it's an easy layup, like, he seeks contact, but if it's not at the correct angle, or if it's not in a place where he's going to get free throws, he'll kick it out. He'll throw it out to GP2, or he'll throw it out to Draymond, whoever's open. And then that three-point shot has a better chance of going in. So I think you're onto something, Philmo. I don't know if it. I hear what you're saying as far as being Jimmy Butler's team. To me, it's, and maybe we're speaking the same language, I just think that everyone has adopted his mentality on the court because they've seen already the results pay dividends, like, so quickly. It'd be one thing if the Warriors over these 15 games had gone, 9-6 or even 10-5. You're winning, but they literally have not lost the last 11 games with Jimmy Butler in the lineup. And so it makes it a whole hell of a lot easier to buy in to making the correct play. And that's why the Kings tonight, the Kings do stink. Yeah, you're right on YouTube. I agree with that. I talked about that. But the Warriors, and to bring it to Jonathan Kuminga, why I feel like he's able to help them now is he clearly, like you saw within 20 minutes tonight, that to Philmo's point, he's already adopting the right play mentality. And to his credit, I don't want to make it out to seem like it was just Jimmy Butler that brought this out of Kuminga and his minute in his ear and all that. Kuminga was making the correct decisions with the basketball. Steve Kerr said 5 or 6 games before he got hurt. So again, back in late December when they were going through the thick of it, and at the beginning of January before he got hurt, Jonathan Kuminga was making the correct choices. But now, combined with Butler's IQ, combined with everybody else having the understanding of making the right play, tonight it was Kuminga's turn to go and score. Again, he was hyper efficient. He was 7 of 10, 3 dunks in the fourth quarter alone. He only took one 3-point shot. Kuminga tonight I think was awesome, but it was within the flow of the offense. And I think we can get to the point now where even if Kuminga doesn't play 30 minutes and doesn't score 20 points, I still trust that he's going to make the correct play. Things will get more difficult as they play better teams, but when he's out there with the rest of these guys, he's quickly assimilated to the point where I don't think that there's really much of anything to worry about with him. Maybe he's concerned about the contract or, maybe the raw. If this team is winning, Kuminga is not I don't believe that Kuminga is the kind of person to make a stink about how many minutes that he's getting, about what his role is on this team. Because I think Kuminga also understands that his contract is going to be tied to the team's success. And where he fits into that right now is being a plus on-ball defender, being a hyper-efficient slasher, and being a player that understands where the ball needs to be and oftentimes where he needs to be. It's at the dunker's spot. Maybe it's setting a screen and cutting to the rim, making the simple plays. And that's not something always that I felt like Kuminga in the first couple of years in the league was able to do. But the fact, again, that he also steps right off the bench after not playing for 31 games and is able to do that tonight, that means he has turned a corner in his progression as a professional, as a developmental piece. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But he has turned a corner. And I was really impressed with, again, the restraint that he showed tonight that I felt like turned into the efficient play that he got. All right, 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you out here at Splash, live outside of Chase Center. Splash at Thrive City. It's a great place to come pregame, have a beer, have some food. They got shareables up until I think 10 o'clock is when the kitchen closes after the game. It's the only place in Thrive City that is open until 11 p.m. My guy over here, the manager, was telling me they're trying to push until midnight. If the Warriors keep winning, this place might be open until midnight because it's been absolutely rocking. Also a great place to catch March Madness as we roll along here too. All right, we're going to step aside for a moment. When we come back, I do want to dig a little bit deeper into this game itself and what I saw that was interesting. Not good nor bad, but something certainly to monitor about the Warriors that I think could be the difference in them either, I don't know, maybe getting to a second-round series, a conference finals, or also it could be something that gets them beat. Because oddly enough, it was the one area where they were a little bit vulnerable tonight against the Kings. So if you want to get any questions in, if you want to get in on the conversation, the text line's open, call lines are open, 888-957-9570. My name is Evan Giddings. This is Warriors Wrap-Up, live from Splash at Thrive City outside Chase Center. 130-104, Warriors beat the Kings. We also got Steve Kerr in its entirety coming up on the other side when we come back on 95.7 The Game.
for Stephen Curry, the undisputed author of the three-point record book, has added another chapter to his tome. Zach LaVine takes a three and hits it right back. It's 72-66. And Post will bring it up. Listen to the crowd roar for Mr. 4000, Stephen Curry.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Man, just a really nice win tonight for the Golden State Warriors. 130-104. 11th win in a row with Jimmy Butler on the floor. 13-2 over the 15 games since he has joined the fold. As you mentioned, as Tim Roy mentioned, I should say, Steph Curry with his 4,000th career three-pointer. Although I will say, I feel like it sells him short a little bit because the asterisk is regular season threes. And no doubt, no one has ever gotten 4,000 threes in the regular season. However, I was talking about this with someone up in the press area who pointed out, I thought, a pretty notable fact. Steph Curry's got 623s in the postseason. He got 4,000 threes like 3 years ago. Like, Steph has been at 4,000 total threes for a very long time. It's just now the fact that he's done it in the regular season. And again, no one's done either. I think the closest player is James Harden, right, who's got a little less than 3,200. But I just thought it was hilarious that, like, Steph himself didn't even make that big of a deal about it. He took the game ball home. He was actually on with Tim Roy after the game and was being applauded the entire time by the home crowd who was waiting for him to show love to all the Dubs fans who showed out at Chase Center, it's now quite become the place to be. Chase Center is live and popping. Now they got a great basketball team to watch. But speaking of Steph Curry, before we get to Steve Kerr, Steph joined the TNT broadcast. And you can catch it live here right now on Warriors Wrap-Up live from Thrive City at Splash. Cam, can we please go up Steph Curry on the TNT broadcast after the win?
Well, Steph, I know there was a lot of anticipation the last couple of days leading up to this moment, but what was it like when you finally saw it go through?
It was a special moment, obviously, to do it at home. The 2-9-7-4 record in New York was great because it was an unbelievable environment in Madison Square, but to do it in front of my home fans, and it was a weird game. I didn't get many attempts up, but to finally get it in the third, I felt the energy. It was special.
And the team played a video with some of the most important people through the journey. Your very first three-point assist, Andres, came on. Do you recall that assist? And when you think back to that first three, what do you remember?
Yeah, I only shot 1 3 my very first game. That was the second game. I saw the highlight of the play. His little pin in. He threw a great pass and knocked it down. But the first of many, so pretty cool. My vet from 2009 got to shout me out.
Have you thought about 5,000 yet?
I'm in the moment. I'm blessed to keep doing this thing. 2-9-7-4 felt like an eternity ago. So being out here with this fresh milestone is pretty cool. Who knows? I'll never limit God or never limit the blessings in my life, but I'm going to stay in the present right now.
Thanks for your time and happy early birthday.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Steph, happy early birthday. He turns 37 years old tomorrow, March 14th, and is wrapping up. I've talked about this ad nauseum, and I'll continue to do it because it's ridiculous. He just put together the best age 36 season by a guard in NBA history. If someone would like to call in and refute that, I would be happy to have a debate about it because I have done as much research as possible to try and find something even remotely comparable, and it's not. During his age 36 season, Steph averaged 24.5 points. For him, that might not be that impressive. The next highest point per game total by a 36-year-old guard is 17.5 points. Sam Cassell did it in 2004, I believe, with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like, it's just ridiculous. And the fact that Curry is still playing at this kind of level, I know tonight he didn't have an extra, 20-point or 30-point performance. The team pretty much took care of itself. Just speaks to how great of a shape he's kept himself in. And the fact that he's got 4,000 threes and everybody, it's like it's totally commonplace. To me, it's kind of desensitized us to it as a whole. It's been awesome to watch, and he's got a lot of great basketball left to play. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you live at Splash at Thrive City. People are out here still having a good time. And let's go to Jonathan at Chase Center. Wants to talk about the win. Jonathan, what's up, my man?
Hey, incredible game. Another incredible win. I can't believe I saw history in person. It's so weird because I remember when Ray Allen's 3 in Game 6 of the finals, that miracle rebound from Chris Bosh, when that was the best 3 I'd ever seen. Not that long ago, but From the beginning of this Jimmy Butler acquisition, I was against it. I was kicking and screaming. I thought it was a bad idea that him and Draymond were going to have problems, that he was going to do what he did in Miami, and that ultimately, of course, my other biggest fear was, and it still is, he's going to go off on the Heat when they get to Miami. Be that as it may, I'm not yet going to say I was wrong because I want to see what they do on Monday. It's my last game of the season, and the Nuggets have been a thorn in my side and on the Warriors' side forever. But so far, it's becoming harder and harder to still be angry at him. He is proving me wrong with a vengeance, and what he's doing with this team, considering what happened just a few short weeks ago with the Warriors and what happened with the Heat a few short weeks ago, it's nothing short of a miracle. And I'm loving every minute of it. And to see Steph get 4,000, to see Kuminga come back and play so well, to take care of the Kings, another team I had a bad loss to last year. I got my Heat win at Chase Center no matter what happens in Miami this season, which looked really bad when they lost to Brooklyn, and what transpired going forward. Boy, has it turned around. And I can't wait for Monday. It's going to be tough, but especially with their lack of size, I don't know how they're going to contain Jokic and be able to stay with them. But, they got a puncher's chance here the way they keep going. I don't want them to lose to the Knicks as a diehard Heat fan. I never want to see New York win, and they do need to keep winning. But I would actually partly rather see them lose to the Knicks just because I want them to win Monday so badly. And I don't want to see a thud happen when they get to that game. So, let's see what happens. But I've been watching this whole thing transpire just in awe because I did not believe that Jimmy was going to be as incredible as he's been. And that's what makes sports so great is we never know what's going to happen.
No doubt. Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, I think even I could be wrong about this, but I would believe that even the most optimistic person about the Jimmy Butler trade would be hard-pressed to tell you that they saw this team being virtually unbeatable with Jimmy Butler. Like, again, this team has won 11 games in a row with him on the floor. They're finally becoming wholly healthy. You still need Podziemski back, but hopefully he's going to be back soon. And then you can see what this team is like at full strength. And I think that they believe that this can be a very special remainder of their season. And Jimmy Butler has been the catalyst. He's been the reason why. They are 13-2 in 15 games since the deadline. They got a grip on the 6th seed. They got the tiebreaker with Minnesota. They don't seem like a team that has any interest in losing the 6th seed. In fact, it feels like the only way that they can climb is up. And against the Knicks, I think that's going to be a tough game. I think the Warriors can win that game. Steph said something during Steiny and Guru's interview with him yesterday about how it feels like they'll be able to figure it out. And that's the way that I feel watching this team. I don't believe that they're going to win every single game, though they've been proving me wrong for about 2.5 weeks. But it does feel like when I'm watching them, I don't know what's going to happen, but they're going to figure out a way to put themselves in a position to win. And it's happened so far against every team that they've played. Even, I think, against some of the better opponents. Like, to me, the win in New York, that was a tough win. I know that Cat wasn't there for it. They'll probably see him Saturday, and then Brunson will be out. Their win against Detroit at home, first game off a long road trip against arguably the most physical team in basketball, I thought was an impressive win with the way that they took it and won it at the end and closed. I think the win, probably before that was the most impressive, just going down some of their victories on the road. Against Orlando, obviously Curry had 56, needed all of those to get a win. They haven't played one of the top teams at full strength, and they'll catch two of them, I think, in Denver, Milwaukee, because they beat the Bucks in Milwaukee without Giannis, but they'll see both Denver and Milwaukee on a back-to-back. Those will be tough games. That'll give us a little more of a gauge of how good this team can be, but I think that they can win both those games. Will they? I'm not sure, but I get the feeling that they are feeling very good about their chances. And it's because of Butler, it's because they're getting healthy, and it's because this team is just playing with a confidence and energy that we have not seen since the beginning of this season. They feel bulletproof. And watching them, I can understand why. You know, I thought they played a poor stretch of basketball in this game at the end of the first half and first start of the third quarter. It didn't matter. They just ran the Kings off the floor. And the Kings aren't a very good basketball team in my mind, but that's what you should do to bad basketball teams. You should beat them by 25. And the Warriors did that tonight. And they're 10 games above 500 for the first time this season as a result of it. Let's go to Coach Duran, who's hanging out in Union City. Coach Duran, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up. How are you?
Evan, buongiorno, senor.
How we doing?
Oh, man, I am juiced, pumped up, and amped. Warriors with the win. That was exuberant and fantastic. A team effort. 8 players in double-figure points. We held our own, and the Kings got locked down. Hey, first, second round, I think right now, Warriors the most scariest, dangerous, and nervous team. So we'll bring on the Grizzlies, Denver, or we'll go at, heck, even Wolves, Rockets. Hey, I think Warriors are going to hold our own, and it should be outstanding moving forward. Dub Nation, here we come. Playoff time.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the call, and I think it speaks to the confidence, Coach Duran, that you're talking about. A lot of people on the text line are feeling it too. This is from the 415. Evan, can we put some respect on Buddy Hield's hustle and defense? He's better than the stereotype. The fact we're talking about Buddy Hield's hustle and defense, I don't think that's a place we would have been a month ago. You know, people were making fun of Buddy for saying he wishes he got traded for Andrew Wiggins. I think that speaks to the character of Buddy Hield, and it's very easy. The more I've had an opportunity to be around this team and listen to this team talk, I know as a fan he can be maddening with the ups and downs and the peaks and valleys that Buddy Hield has, but it's easy to see when you get a chance to interact with him why he's so beloved by the rest of this roster and the kind of impact that he has. I also think on the floor he's got to continue to play because the Warriors don't have a ton of shooting, but Buddy Hield is an important part of this group. He's a firecracker, and again, if he's hitting threes, they're going to be difficult to beat. You know, I also think that in regards to shooting, that's another note that I made tonight. You know, I have not yet considered, and I'm willing to kind of change this, Moses Moody is officially a shooter. Like, he's a legitimate threat to knock down threes. And I was a bit hesitant to come around on it because I feel like I'd seen him missing a lot of open threes. I didn't feel like teams had necessarily respected his three-point shot. But another ho-hum night for Moody where he's got 17 points on 4 of 6 from downtown. And the real stat that points to me that it leads me to believe that he's a knockdown shooter. He's 19 for his last 20 at the free throw line. Like, good shooters step to the stripe and knock down free throws. And Moses Moody's been doing it overall this season. I think he's above 81%. You know, that's as close to being an elite free throw shooter as you can get. You know, not many guys are going to be 85 plus or 90, but 80%, like, that's Jimmy Butler. You know, Moses Moody, I feel comfortable being at the free throw line, knocking him down. Defensively, he's also stepped up. You know, Strill struggled for moments tonight against Monk. I think quicker guards are going to give the Warriors trouble in general. But offensively, Moses Moody is making the correct choices. He's a really smart defender. And I think the most important part is that last thing about him being a legitimate shooter. I think he makes more Kuminga lineups unlockable. Like, he's making the right plays, and his shooting has improved to the point where you can trust it, where he's pushed Jimmy almost to the 4. Like, you know, Jimmy is making things easier on everybody, but I did think that was interesting tonight that Moses Moody, Kuminga didn't really play alongside Jimmy Butler in the first half. If you notice, each time that Jimmy went to the bench, Kuminga was coming in and vice versa. When Kuminga went to the bench, Jimmy came in. The only time they really tried in the first half to play the Jimmy, Moody, and Kuminga threesome together was when the Kings made their run at the end of the half. And I'm not so sure it was about those three not working together as much as it was they were trying to feed Steph and They were trying to get him his 4,003 just to get him that record. But that's something I definitely noted, the fact that Kerr wasn't using Kuminga and Butler on the floor at the same time, really until the second half. And to me, the key or the glue to that combination absolutely could be Moses Moody. And part of it could be Buddy Hield. I think that Buddy is somebody that spaces the floor. He's someone that played a lot with Kuminga before the injury. And I think it's because Kuminga needs three-point shooting around him. But if Moody's going to be 38% and above-average three-point shooter and can be a legitimate threat from outside, I think that also helps Kuminga as well. All right, 888-957-9570 is the number. Reminder that you are listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live in the free Odyssey app. Twitch and YouTube powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Did I use irregardless? Thank you, 707. Any corrections are appreciated. I'm talking with a half eye on a double smash burger here at Splash that is going to go down the hatch right as soon as I get off here. It's a little late past my bedtime. I got to be up at 7 o'clock to keep Sandy and Guru in check. So, thank you for checking me, and I appreciate everybody that has contributed. All right. This is 925. Kuminga probably never had issues with his contract, but media made it seem like that. Stop asking him about it. I don't think anybody's asking him about his contract. But I do think that it's a story. I mean, how much he's going to get paid this summer by I believe the Warriors, because I think that they're willing to go, to a certain level to keep him. But he's a restricted free agent, so other teams are going to have an opportunity to make a run at him as well. I don't think the media is making a bigger deal of it than it is. He's a piece that I think the Warriors like and would like to be here for a long time. So the contract is certainly going to be a topic point. I think this is spot on from the 925. Steph is the storm. Jimmy settles it. And you're right, too. Jimmy on the court is like Curry off the court. I kind of agree. That's why I think the yin and yang of both of them has been such an easy thing to watch happen in real time, and it's happened really fast. I think that I think that the Warriors are a little bit surprised themselves at just how quickly this thing has worked. And, people are chiming in on YouTube and Twitch, and I see, we never saw Kuminga and Jimmy together. Yeah, we didn't really see them a whole lot in this game together. To me, that would be the next step of trying to figure out, how they work. Because, again, I'll say this. If Moses Moody continues to shoot it as well as he has, I think there's a possibility that down the stretch of this season and potentially in a postseason series, the Warriors are always going to be at their best when. Oh, and if you want to call in, please call. I don't have any callers right now. That's why we're not taking any. But the thing about the Warriors is they're always at their best when they're playing small. Kerr mentioned Steph, Pods, Jimmy, Kuminga, Draymond, Moses. If Moses can play, and I don't know if it's the two necessarily, but if you can play essentially four forwards because Moody's been such a good three-point shooter, that gives you more length at all potential spots. It makes you taller. It makes you more athletic. I think that Moses hasn't been a good enough three-point shooter to this point to make that a possibility. And I think that Kerr is going to he's going to start Pods at the 2 because he likes the way that he connects certain things. But he mentioned something earlier in pregame that, in order to fit Jonathan on the floor with Jimmy, he said Buddy, which I felt like would be an option, but he also said Moses. And again, he tried it out tonight down the stretch of that first half, and it didn't really work. But I'm not sure if it was because that's not a threesome that's going to fit together or if it's just because they were trying to force things to Steph. I think overall to me tonight, this was the perfect way to integrate Kuminga. It's an opponent that he's played well against in the past, and I thought that the thing that impressed me the most was just the restraint that he showed. I know that he had 18 points in 20 minutes, and he was hyper-efficient, only took 1-3, got to the free throw line, made the right pass. I think most importantly to the Warriors and to me watching, he didn't have any turnovers. He didn't make the incorrect plays with the basketball, and he didn't rush. And I think for a player that comes back off injury, adrenaline's going to be a natural part of it. The Chase Center crowd was lively tonight. There was juice in the building. They were running. Kuminga easily could have played outside of himself tonight, but we didn't see that. And for him to do that immediately off of injury, I think is a great sign of what he can continue to do moving forward. And now it's just about figuring out, all right, how much time is he going to get? Is he going to eat into Moody's minutes? Because Moody's been awesome. Is he going to eat into more of Guy Santos' minutes, Quentin Post's minutes? Where are those going to come from? Because if you're getting that hyper-efficient Kuminga, while he might not be the second option anymore, he's gravy to your offense. And if he's shooting above 50% from the floor and playing within himself, this offense can be one that I think operates at a really high level. So I was impressed with the restraint that Jonathan showed tonight. I think it's the kind of play that they want to see from him, and eventually the kind of play that's going to be rewarded this summer, because I think they want to keep him, and I think they want to give him a contract. I just don't know what that number is going to be. But a great start for him, a great start for Golden State, to getting him back in the fold, and they continue to roll. 11 straight wins in a row. All right, if we do have any calls, please send them to me, Cam. If not, in the meantime, let's go to Steve Kerr, who in his entirety spoke after the 26-point win against the Kings. Here's the head coach.
Steve, did it look like maybe your guys were pressing a little bit to get Steph that 4,000, and that maybe caused a little bit of the shakiness, and then what stabilized it after? Was it just Steph making the 4,000 that kind of calmed things down again?
Yeah, when you allow a team to shift the momentum like they did the end of the second, when we started tossing the ball around, it's hard to regain your footing. And coming out of the third, they had a lot of confidence. They knocked down their first couple of shots, so it was really more a matter of just continuing to play. We only had 6 turnovers, I think, second half. One of those was, a shot clock violation at the end. So just by staying solid over the course of the second half, I thought we were able to pull away.
Steve, beyond the numbers, 18 points in 20 minutes, what about the way Jonathan played was striking to you?
Well, I thought he played really hard, and what you notice is just the different dimension he gives us with his explosion to the rim. And, the way teams are playing Steph, I mean, everybody now is just top blocking him. It completely distorts the defense, and it makes sense because you're trying to take away Steph, but then you don't have help in certain areas. And so if you have a guy like JK who can attack and score at the rim, it's a huge help. So I thought Jonathan was really good tonight, and I was just happy for him. He's put a lot of work in. It was a bad ankle injury, worse than we had originally thought, and it just took him quite a while to get to this point, but there was a lot of hard work that went into it, and I'm proud of him and happy for him.
Steve, did you guys celebrate in the locker room? You look like your hair looks a little wet there.
Yeah, there was a lot of water flying around in the locker room, so it was a celebration of sorts. So.
Now that we've reached 4,000, if he can stay healthy, how far can he take this?
8,000? Yeah, who knows? I mean, it just seems like it was not too long ago that he broke the record, and what was that? Less than 3,000, right? What was it?
29.74.
Yeah. So he just keeps going the way he keeps himself in shape and condition, in rhythm. He's gonna make another 1,000 for sure. I mean, that's what I would guess, but who knows?
Steve Kerr, 8,000 threes. Yeah, that one might be out of reach, but what I will say is that any record involving a three-pointer that Steph Curry manages to log it's not really a surprise at this point. We've all been desensitized to pretty much anything that he does from way outside, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to watch. The other part, obviously JK was the big storyline tonight, I think, post-game. I saw Draymond Green talking about it, the fact that this is a team that still needs him in a major way, and how I do think there's more assimilating that JK needs to do to the team than the team does to JK. Like, I thought before the trade deadline, just because they didn't have anybody who could score the basketball, and they're really struggling, that they needed to figure out how to uplift him. Like, they needed to figure out how to fit to him. And tonight, and I think for the remainder of the season, it's more, how they're going to get this type of, I don't know if 70% from the floor is realistic, but how are you going to get this level of play consistently as you play better opponents? And look, I don't think that everyone's going to be happy if Jonathan Kuminga continues to play only 20 minutes, but I think that if he shows that he's willing to make the correct passes, that he's willing to crash the offensive glass, if he's willing to D up, he's going to play a lot of minutes for this team. And I think they're going to need him to also down the stretch, because there might be some games where Jimmy needs to miss or Draymond needs to miss, or, also the fact that, like, these kinds of games are valuable to the veterans because you can kind of build rest in. Draymond didn't play 30 minutes. Jimmy didn't play 30 minutes. Steph was right at 30 minutes. So you kind of build in rest as you're picking up these victories, and the bench is able to get some tick and get some run as well. How he fits in a postseason series, I think he's absolutely in their top 9. Pajemski, I think, fits into there somewhere as well. But these are all good problems to have. I think that is also something that I want to make clear. It's as opposed to before, where Kuminga was looked at as a necessity and the Warriors were going to lose games if he didn't play well, or if Steph didn't play well, or Draymond didn't play well. All of those problems were they were tough to figure out because the Warriors were just not able to win. But now, because they're stacking victories, whether it's against bad teams, against mediocre teams, or slightly above average teams, I'd say Detroit and New York are above average. They're going to play some big boys coming up, beginning with a doubleheader on Monday and Tuesday. And even the Knicks are no slouch. But, these are all the problems that they have, and I don't even know if it's problems, but decisions they have to make are good ones. How much tick does Jonathan Kuminga get? Moses Moody's got to continue to play. And do they try and play those guys together? How much do they play Kuminga with Jimmy? How does Jimmy help Kuminga when he's on the floor with him? Is there enough space? Does that mean that Buddy's got to be out there? Does that mean that Steph needs to play when those two players are on the floor? Even though Kerr has shown that he likes to stagger both Curry and Butler until really the end of the game. Well, beginning of the game, obviously they start, but then at the end of the game and during the middle, they don't really play a whole lot together. How does that work out? These are all good problems for the Warriors to have at this point, again, as they move to 10 games above 500. For the first time this season, maintaining the security of the 6th seed, the tiebreaker with Minnesota, and then they're looking at a 5:30 tip on a nationally televised platform yet again on ABC on Saturday against the New York Knicks. I'm looking forward to that one. I'll be here at Chase Center. I think Mark Graney might have pre and post for you then, but I'll be out here at Chase Center. And the Warriors are must-watch right now. They're must-watch entertainment. And the return of Jonathan Kuminga is a big addition to this team. They're rolling. I love the fact that not only did he not take away from it, he added to it. He fit seamlessly tonight. And you hope that can continue to move forward. While they might not continue to shoot 56% from three-point range, this is a team that's generating great looks right now. Spacing seems to be where it needs to be, and offensively they're clicking. So how Kuminga can add to other areas, how this team can continue to complement his strengths is something that I would love to pay attention to moving forward. And congratulations to Steph Curry, 4,000 regular season threes, even though he's got like 4,600 total threes if you include the postseason. Steph only had 11 points tonight. They won by 26. That, to me, that's a good night. And I think that's the note that we're going to end on, unless we have any calls to clean up. I don't believe we do. But a big thanks to all those of you who have tuned in, who have called in, who have texted in, and who have chimed in right here on YouTube and Twitch. Yeah, for the 925, retire after he hit 3K for Curry. Well, look, that might not be out of range. I went through the math earlier on the pregame show. It's not as far-fetched as you think if he continues to play at this level, or if he continues to play, I should say. anything is within his reach, in my opinion. But, again, we'll talk to you tomorrow here on 95.7 The Game. A lot of coverage, obviously, 6 to 10. It's going to be Joe Spadoni, Joe Shasky. Steiny and Guru got you from 10 to 2, and then Willard and Dibbs from 2 to 6. But my name is Evan Giddings saying so long, live here from Splash at Thrive City, right outside Chase Center, where the Warriors defeat the Sacramento Kings 130-104. Big thank you to Cameron Williams, our Warriors Network coordinator, locking us down every single game back in our studios. Big thank you to Chris O'Connell, Carter Chickering, Steven Risotto, all of our cutters back in our studios as well, making the sound crisp and A+. My name is Evan Giddings. I will talk to you next time, 5:30, New York Knicks, Warriors Live, 4:30, all right here on your home for Golden State Warriors basketball, 95.7 The Game. Take it easy, everyone.